Head of Security. This is the guide playing Head of Security for SS13, making a separate guide from the Security Officer video because they do play differently. The main difference between playing Head of Security and playing a Security Officer is that when you are playing as Head of Security, you are expected to stay within the Security Division. As a Security Officer, you're meant to be going out, running around, chasing criminals, doing all the action movie stuff. Head of Security is a lot more of a bureaucratic role. You are much more of a pen pusher, unless your officers are completely outnumbered or there's some important reason for you to join them in the trenches. You're generally not supposed to. So what do you do when you're in the office? There's a lot of different things you do. First thing you want to do when you spawn in, by the way, is when you go to your locker. This is the Head of Security's room. Only you and the captain can enter here. Got a pet spider. It's pretty cool. Sergeant Haranius. Got your locker with a bunch of security stuff in it. A lot of this stuff is just meme stuff, but there is some important stuff. There's your lockbox and mind shield implants. Inside this box, you have to use your ID to unlock it. There are mind shield implants. You can implant them into people and it will stop them from excuse me. It will stop them from being mind controlled by various antagonist roles that have access to mind control. You have your security belt. Always need your security belt. You've got a second energy gun. This one, in addition to having a disable and a kill setting, also has an ion setting, which will allow you to, which does specific damage against. It does a lot of damage against robots, against cyborgs, against mechanical units. You also have in here pinpointer, which will, what does it lock onto? Yeah, it shows you the direction of the nuclear disk, so if someone steals it, you can use that to track it down. I think the rest of this is aesthetic stuff, so you can dress up as a friggin' anime character if you want, because the people who made this game are memes. Also in here are your consoles. You have the prisoner management console, which allows you to, if you've given someone a tracking implant, tracking implants can be found in the armory. You can track them. If you give them a chemical implant, you can activate it. A chemical implant is an implant which contains a chemical. You can choose what chemical you put in there. You can activate it remotely to inject that chemical into their system. Usually it's some kind of deadly poison that kills them, and you put it in them and say, hey, behave or we'll kill you. You also have your cameras. The entire station, apart from maintenance tunnels, is covered in cameras here. There's a lot of them, so you need to know where you're trying to look. The security records console. This has everyone's security records. You can alter them, you can add crimes, add citations, you can print wanted posters, print missing person posters, and you can change their criminal status. So if you put it to arrest, I'm just going to put everyone on the station to arrest and we'll have a look at it later. Where's back button? Yeah, I'm just going to set everyone to arrest. I'm going to assume there's been a big riot and everyone did the bad. And so what you'll see is when you have everyone set to arrest, or when you have a person set to arrest and you look at them whilst wearing a security HUD, there'll be a red W on them, and that will let your officers know they need to arrest them. When they arrest them, they'll bring them to the interrogation room. You can interrogate themselves if your officers are needed on the station, but usually what you want to do is have your officers interrogate them, and you'll be in this room, watching and listening what goes on, and then you'll come in with your judgment after you've heard both sides of the story. Like maybe they're innocent, maybe they're guilty. You have to like decide what they are. If they ask for a trial, take them through here. You get them in prisoner's clothes. You get them in cuffs. You buckle them to this chair, and you bring the captain. Have a trial. They are not authorized to a trial if it's very black and white. If a single second person says that they should have a trial, you should probably give it to them though. Yeah, if everyone is in agreement that it's black and white and it's clear they're only asking for a trial to waste time, don't feel the need to give it to them. But if a single other player sees it as a grey area, you need to grant that right to a trial. So you come here, the person who demanded the trial will have to act as a defence lawyer. The captain will come here, and so you'll be the offence lawyer. You'll be arguing for why they should be punished or imprisoned. The person who vouched for them will be arguing for why they shouldn't be imprisoned. Actually, I think you sit here and they sit there, but well, the captain will be here, and he will make the final judgment. That's how courts work. So, a couple of fun things. So if it is decided that someone needs to be executed, I went over how putting someone to lava land, I won't do that again in this video. If there's someone who decided they need to be executed, there are a couple ways of doing this. The first one, only do this if you are really busy. It is really bad form to do this. But one of the options is to simply so this is really bad form, but one of the ways to do it is just to it's moving me out because of the air rushing out. Okay, you should stop now. So one of the ways is just to throw them out the airlock. Okay, so that's one way of doing an execution, but that's not the proper way of doing it. I will now show the proper way of doing it. You take them to this door, which is labelled the Prisoner Education Chamber. Only the head of security and the captain can get in through this door. It is not a prisoner re-education chamber. It is a execution chamber. And there are kind of two ways of doing it. Both involve buckling to the pit though. So the first thing you can do is you buckle them down. For some reason the button's all the way over here, so you have to climb up onto the table. You just hit the justice vent control. It vents it out to space. And they'll die eventually. I'm not going to record the entire process. Oh, one last way. So there's one last forgot way, which is like mentioned most or completely forgot way existed. Execution. And it technically isn't even an execution, but it does take them out of the round permanently. A slightly more humane way of killing someone, other than like exposing them to space until they die of suffocation, but not this door so humane that you're only putting them to sleep again after the process has started. I mean, other than shooting them out this, obviously you can always just shoot and get out of it. But you do have this other option available to you, which is away. Lethal injection. Eventually these put in place, and they have to have some exposed. Turn this gas pump on, switch it to max. And yes, we are just floods the room with sedative. and a spawned in random NPC and Santa Claus will watch over them, will just be nothing but sedative forever.
There we go.
And they will never wake up again.
Sure
The roleplay thing that's going on here is that they are just being put to sleep until a security shuttle can come along to take them off to be tried in a real court. But obviously that does not happen during the round. It supposedly happens at
Christmas has been cancelled.
If you open this door, the sedative will spread out into the rest of the station, and you'll have to block off the parts of the station that it's spread to, or everyone who goes in there will go to sleep very quickly. It's very annoying to deal with. Yes, one other thing, and don't switch that off either. There's one other thing you can do. This is an execution, by the way. It's just a fun little mechanic. Let me vent out the sedative. One last way I forgot to mention, or completely forgot even existed, and only realised existed whilst looking around. A slightly more humane way of killing someone, other than like exposing them to space until they die of suffocation, but not so humane that you're only putting them to sleep. I mean, other than shooting them in the head, obviously, you can always just shoot them in the head. But you do have this other option available to you, which is lethal injection. They have to have some exposed part on their body. And yes, we are killing Santa Claus. I spawned in a random NPC and Santa Claus was what showed up, so there we go. I'm sure I give them all of it. Christmas has been cancelled. Alright, so it's all been vented out now. I hope it has. If there's any trace left in here and I go to sleep, that's going to be annoying. There's no hair in here. I'm going to bring that up quickly. Alright. Okay. This is the electro pack. You've got to remove someone's backpack and then you put it in the slot their backpack is usually in. Before though, set it to a specific frequency as you can remember it. For here we're going to use 157 and 157. And you put it on them. You get a remote signaling device. Set it to the same frequency. Now, they cannot take the backpack off. Other people can take it off of them. I'm going to try and get them on their feet. Okay. So, they cannot take the backpack off of them. Other people can take it off them, but they cannot get it off themselves without help from another player. And whilst they're wearing it, whenever any transmitter sends a transmission down this frequency with this code, they get a zap. And it will floor them and it will stun them for several seconds. So if someone keeps trying to break out of prison, and they've already broken out of prison once or twice, you might want to slap this on them. As a final note, as a head of security, you do have a lot of freedom. I've said like you should do this, you should do that a lot in this video, and the stuff like staying in the office, like yeah, please do. But beyond that, like the specific ways you execute people, feel free to get creative. You don't need to do it in the exact ways I've outlined. maybe don't throw someone out of an airlock. That is kind of a shitty way to do it. But other than that, like, it is a roleplay game.